Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to today's episode of the Daily Sib. It's Monday. It's been a lovely long weekend, actually. As I mentioned, Friday I took off with the non-wedding day, but we still marked the occasion, had a really lovely time. We've obviously still got next year to look forward to for the real wedding again. So today, back for a new week, feeling fresh and really excited to chat with my friend and business partner, Rob Trent. So, yeah, thank you for joining me, Rob.
Hi, Martin. Thank you for inviting me along.
How was your weekend?
It was very good, very good. Had a little party on the in the back garden on Friday night, so had a little rest on Saturday, and
Yeah,
felt a lot better on Sunday.
and the weather was
A good
beautiful, wasn't
weekend.
it?
Weather was very nice indeed.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Who needs foreign holidays at the moment?
Well, I've got one booked. My wife and I have got one booked for Lanzarote in September, and still
September,
hoping
okay.
we can go.
Yeah. I mean,
Still hoping.
no one knows where this is all going to play out, do they? But yeah,
No.
September's far enough away to be possible, isn't it?
Yeah, my screen's going to go, so I'm just going to wobble. I don't know why the screen's going to go black, so I'll just
Okay.
move the mouse. There you
Yeah.
go. That's done.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, it's strange. It's not. It's normally the video kind of stops the screensaver, doesn't it?
Mm.
Are you potentially going to have to do that every few minutes then?
I don't know. I'll have a look. Is it on full screen? Can you do full screen on this?
Not my side because I've got like a dashboard, but
Okay. Okay.
it
I'll
might
keep
just be easier that because we've been chatting a little while now, haven't we? So it might be.
We have. Okay. I'm ready anyway to do it easily.
Okay. Well, yeah. So a couple of comments already coming in. Gavin saying awesome to have Rob on, and Gavin's already preempted my agenda. He's saying make sure you ask Rob about art as well as Access Advisor, which we're definitely going to be touching upon. So, in usual Daily Sib etiquette, if you could just give a little punchy bio, Rob, that'd be great just to kick us off.
Okay. Well, I'm at the moment I'm retired. I worked for Ordnance Survey for 32 years. I had a job there. Started out as a systems developer, software engineer, and then did things like web management and managed the application services team. I'm now retired, although if that looks like I'm not doing much, it's not true because I'm a trustee for a charity called Flat Spaces, a trustee for Disability Rights UK in London, and also a governor of Trelaw Special School in Hampshire. And I paint, and I'm running Access Advisor as well. So,
You're the busiest retired man I know.
But when I retired, the one thing that I was worried about when I retired was that I wouldn't be busy.
Yeah.
And I sort of worked with a mentor to try and sort of think about what my life would be like after retiring, so that I could retire knowing that I wanted to retire and that I would be doing things that I really loved.
Yeah. But that's how it should be, right? That's I think as you almost say, people think retirement means do nothing, but it's almost more to do all the things that when you were working full time was hard, right?
That's right, and it's do the things you want to do. So we're going away on holidays. I go and watch football a lot, home and away. I don't have to worry about getting up for work the following morning, and it's just nice,
Oh, that sounds
really
good.
nice.
Well, yeah, definitely plenty to tackle in. I mean, I suppose when you talked about the trustee work you do and the Access Advisor, you've obviously got there's a thread of passion around disability activism and disability inclusion. So maybe just start there a little bit with your lived experience and how you see the bigger picture changing over your life.
Okay, I think I've seen quite a lot of change from when I was younger. I remember things, and and you don't want to sound like the old fart, and in the corner of the pub, the old bore going on about the old days. But I remember the times when you had to travel on guards vans, and in trains. So I travelled with lab rats, and boxes of mail, and been caged in to protect myself from football fans. And buses, buses weren't accessible at all. So I've grown up with that experience where being lifted onto a train, there were no ramps or anything. You go to concerts and you couldn't see anything, so I got helped onto a table to watch a group, whereas now there are accessible facilities. So
Yeah.
I think I've seen a lot of changes. Most of them, I think, well, all of them are good, but I still think there's a long way to go until we get
Yeah.
fully inclusive.
And because when we look at the social model, there's the environment, there's attitudes, and there's policies, which, policy is a bit jargon sounding. It was government policy, but it's also businesses, employment, and businesses, goods and services. But yeah, if you break it down, those three: environment, attitudes, policy, do you think any of them are particularly a lot better or particularly not good enough right now? Or are they all very
the
intertwined?
environment? I think we've seen progress in the environment. Well, I've seen progress in attitude, and I did think we saw progress in policy, but I think nowadays it seems to be going backwards, and that
You mean
inclusion is
government
something that's not
particularly?
at a government level. Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I think disability equality seems to be taking a backward step, in my opinion, and that things
yeah.
aren't as good as they were. Things were looking good, and we made some progress, and now I think this is just my opinion that things are sort of taking a step back.
Yeah. But just talking of matter of opinion, so Chris has said White Hart Lane is good for a day out, and Gavin has put all a matter of opinion, and Rich is saying, "Hi both, absolutely don't forget the paint and Rob, top guest." So
and with regards to White Hart Lane, I believe if I turned up there now, there wouldn't be much football going on.
no,
They
well,
moved, haven't they?
again, as a Spurs fan, it's questionable how much football was going on when they were playing, but there's certainly not a lot at the moment. So no, it's interesting to sort of hear that, like Chris, who works for with me at Purple Goat and Disability Horizons, he's 52, I think, and he's saying that he was of a generation where there was still segregation in schools, and some of the things you're talking about with the guards bit on the railways, and I'm mid-30s, and so I went to mainstream school, and I've always been on a train in my wheelchair, like as we generally, it's always been the same for me. So I think you're right. There's definitely a good charting of improvement. But yeah, the sort of, particularly with COVID-19 and the healthcare and the social care, that feels the bit that's not really as good as it should be. But when I was talking about policies being businesses as well, I do think with like Valuable 500 and some of the stuff that we're doing at Purple Goat, there is definitely still an improvement in the business world. But it's if government don't allow rights and have independent living, the rest of it's irrelevant.
No, I do agree. I think going back to what you were talking about, I did grow up in I went to a special school, so I didn't have a mainstream education at all. I can only speak for myself, and I worked for one company. I worked for Southampton General Hospital for 1 year, and then I worked for Ordnance Survey, and they were fantastic employers. So my experience has been nothing but good. But I do appreciate that I'm probably one of a very few lucky people of that that era that managed to find somewhere that was good, and an employer that was really good and really thought about my needs, and also gave me support to develop a career as well.
Yeah, and that's the argument, isn't it? That if an employer understands barriers that exclude people, and they facilitate like workplace adjustments and flexible work, whatever's necessary, you end up with people that bring a lot of value and productivity and talent to your business. And I think that in a way you'd sort of trailblaze that's what's possible, and we're trying to get every employer to be like that now.
I like the description of trailblazing. I never really thought of myself like that going into work every day, but I do like that as a description. Yes, I remember that one.
Well, and I sort of, when I chat with Kasha about are we making enough change? Not just me and Kasha, but like we as a community or as a society. But yeah, you always reflect on that personal level, like, could I do more? Could I be in a different part of disability rights? All that kind of stuff. And very often we've made most change just by living. So like when we go to Poland, we're like, where's the accessible vehicle? Like, why is there not a ramp here?
Yeah.
And it's not by like formally working in the world of disability rights. It's just by being that it pushes society to be more aware and more inclusive. So yeah, I think you going to work and, you know, coming out of segregated education and having a really great career, it is trailblazing, and it, you know, it showed what's possible.
And that's another point that you make, that for that time when I was working, and up until maybe 10 years ago, till I really got involved with Access Advisor and started that, I wasn't really involved in disability politics at all,
Yeah.
and didn't actually want to be. You know, I just wanted to get on and live a life. And, you know, maybe is that right or wrong? But it was what suited me at the time.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to, you know, live a life and do what I wanted to do.
Well, perfect segue, because that was my next question: is how did Access Advisor come around? So, I mean, obviously, I know there's a slight bridge from Ordnance Survey with the competition as well. Like, can you just explain to people what happened there?
Well, Ordnance Survey run an annual competition now called Geovation, which they'll have a theme each year for people to enter and use Ordnance Survey mapping as a way of resolving a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first year, they ran an internal staff competition as well. Just do that. They ran an internal staff competition so that people could, you know, there was no prize involved. There was an offer of some support. And people put in ideas, and I came up with the idea of using the mapping to try and form a kind of trip advisor for disabled people. And the staff, we all had a vote on it, and my idea won the award. So I got some support to develop the website in-house at first. And that's where it started in-house. And then a year later, another company came along with a similar idea. And Geovation put myself in touch with, they were integrated transport planning from Nottingham. And so I worked with them for a few years, and we actually set up Access Advisor 2.0 or whatever you want to call it. And that's where we got to. And ITP are no longer involved, but we're taking the website, you know, I've been taking it forward since then.
Oh, so what year was that with the competition?
I'd say that was about 12 years ago now.
Right. Wow.
It seems to have flown.
So in different names and forms to a degree, the Access Advisor has been around for about 12 years then, yeah?
It's always been around with the name Access Advisor.
Okay. But yeah, sort of different tech and sort of that side of it. Yeah, okay. Wow. And so when did you retire then?
2 years ago on the 7th of June.
So like for 10 years you were running it on side of the day job?
I got support from from Ordnance Survey to build the idea, to work with the company and do that. So I would get home from work and have to run things when I sort of finished my day job, really.
Yeah. So. And obviously I've, you know, well, I mentioned at the beginning you're a friend and business partner. So I've been involved. Can you remember how long ago was it? It was definitely over a year, wasn't it? That I came involved with Access Advisor.
2 years before I retired, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, so over 2 years. Wow, time is just flying at the moment. It's ridiculous. Because I was going to reference, you know, my involvement with Accomable, and it's a similar model of, you know, you're bringing together disabled people, and then obviously Accomable was more holiday accommodation, whereas Access Advisor is not. I mean, it is abroad; it's all over the world, but it's not just accommodation. It's, you know, cafes, bars, restaurants, the whole lot, isn't it? So when you were starting off, where did you start? Because did you start with the community and build up, and then talk to businesses, or like just got to talk through a bit how you approached it once the tech and the map was ready?
Oh, it's such a long time ago now. I think it was a very, very gentle dip into the toes of social media, trying to work out, where your audience was and how you could
Yeah.
actually attract those people to try and find it. So basically through Twitter, through Facebook, through building up contacts in LinkedIn as well, trying to find business contacts. I
Yeah.
think that's
So both really. Then do you sort of look to do both sides of the coin?
Yeah, well, every side of every coin. I was trying to, trying to find some people there, trying to find some audience there. Trying to see is there a business for it?
Sure. And yeah, I guess my interest, because I've not heard so much depth of the backstory, but obviously for people watching and listening as well. So what were the challenges and highlights over that time, really?
I think the challenges were, again, trying to do not too much, but trying to do as much as I could in the time that I had. I think that was a real challenge, and doing it on my own. Having to meet up when we met up with ITP, they were quite a long way away, and we had obvious frustrations with software developers, saying things will be ready, and I know what it's like with software. If you promise a date for someone, and that's more of an ambition rather than the target. So lots of frustrations with getting things out there, and we want things to move so quickly, but these
Well,
things
that was
take
like why Shrin taught himself to code. Was we had tried different partnerships and getting money to pay agencies, and like it's very difficult. We'll come on to that in a minute about the money side of this model, but like even with the money, it's still finding the right people that have got that tech skill, but equally care about the mission as well.
I do try and dip into learning a bit about WordPress, just to see if I can make any minor changes to my site. But then I think, no, I'll mess the whole thing up, and I'll have to
Blow
go
it up.
running to support. And then I think, well, I'm at an age where do I really want to be learning another new computer language? So
I don't think the only answer is learning yourself. Like I said, Shrin did it, as in I didn't. Like I'm not very codey, techie minded at all. So I don't think it's that. And I'm just sort of thinking of adding value to people watching. That like the answer isn't learn coding, but it is about finding the right partners.
And I think the answer, one of the answers is not to give up as well.
Yes.
Things I found that you talked about big challenges, that things don't go the way you want. So, sure. I believe it's something, the saying I heard, if you're not doing it the right way, try another way. And if that doesn't work, try another way. And if that doesn't work, do it a different way.
Yeah, that's so true.
That's just it. Don't be defeated. Just keep going at it.
Yeah, no, very, very good point. So, I mean, I'm sure there's all sorts of war stories and general stories of the last 10 to 12 years. But I mean, I think those two, sort of bits of advice are very powerful for other people that are looking to start something or have started something and going to the next level. So, like, when you retired, how did things change for you then?
In the first instance, I think it gave me a lot more time to start focusing on what I wanted to do. Start looking around bigger audiences, take a bit more time to engage with the community that we've got. We've now grown our Facebook community to over 650 people. So, that's not a big number, but it's still, I'm still quite pleased with what we've done in that time. Growing the accessibility reviews. Before COVID, we were starting to build up some good traction and a good sort of drumbeat of accessibility reviews. Regular people wanting to come on and let us know what they think of places. It's all gone a bit quiet since then, but I think that would be the thing. I was able to dedicate more time to thinking about the future.
I mean, and I know when we started talking, we wanted to try and replicate the journey Economable had, was show there's a need, grow it a bit organically, get funding from grants and investors, do a whole overhaul, and ultimately, potentially be bought out or work with TripAdvisor. Like that's the kind of bigger picture goal and strategy that we had. But obviously, yeah, it wasn't that simple for Ecomovable,
No.
and it certainly hasn't been that, simple for Access Advisor. But I mean, what's been your feeling of that experience of trying to get grants or investors for such an idea? Like, I know you've tried a lot of different things. Maybe just talk a bit through some of those stories as well.
I think the lesson of trying to do this is try and find some people that can help you. Don't think you can do it all on your own. Because I've not thought I could do it on my own, but I've sort of got to the point where I haven't found people yet that I think can help us grow it to the way that we want it to grow. And I'm sure we will find those people. They are out there. But don't think you can do it all on your own, because I'm not an expert in looking for grants, and I'm not an expert in sort of company business structures or anything like that. I've got an idea that I want to run with, and I've got a passion about it. But I've not got expertise in a lot of the areas that sadly, well, not sadly, but in reality, you need to be an expert in.
Yeah. So collaboration's a big thing, really, isn't it?
It is, and I think that's the thing, and I've seen that sort of come through on some of your previous talks about as a disability community working together and trying to become stronger.
And what about, like, because I'm thinking with the grant money and the investment, I mean, do you think that there is still not enough awareness or believing that the disability world is a sort of valuable world in terms of a business venture?
I think it's difficult because one of the things I've done, Access Advisor is a limited company, so it's a business. But I always get the feeling that people think disability work in the disability sphere should be a charity, and you should be doing this for the love of it, because you don't need to feed a family or you don't need to look after yourself. So why aren't you doing it for charity? So I think that is an attitude that I think I think it comes across, and you see disabled people trying to run businesses, and it does seem harder for disabled people to run businesses, successful businesses that really grow than non-disabled people.
Yeah, and I mean, I mentioned the grant or the investor funding, so I'm talking about unlocking capital so that you can invest in the website or a team, or that's the basic need for the capital, is to scale up how much you can do beyond one person. But I guess the other part of it is the businesses, like on TripAdvisor, the businesses are paying because they know that consumers go to TripAdvisor, and then they will decide where they go on holiday or where they go for a restaurant of a weekend. And the same is true for disabled consumers, but I don't think that the businesses sort of fully see it as a marketing opportunity.
I think you're probably that's right. And you talk about scaling up again. It's this thing about needing someone there who know where the grants are, who know how to write out a grant application or a loan application, or know where to go. And it's just trying to find people that know those things. And I think if I set Access Advisor up as a social enterprise or a charity in the start, it might have been easier to get money for it, and fundraise for it, so we could do what we wanted. But we are where we are at the moment, and I think it's just very difficult, and I'm not an expert in trying to raise money or marketing at all.
Sure. I mean, I was thinking Tab from Employability on Thursday mentioned that they are a charity, but their only funding is still from businesses wanting services like training and support on employing disabled people. And so, like, they're a charity, but in a way they're still selling a sort of product or service. But even if it was funded by grants and donations, the people that work for a charity get paid. So, like, I know I've always been adamant that I will run a business because I don't want to be tied up to that negative connotation of charity. But there, and I'm not saying this about Access Advisor, it's more of a general thought that, maybe there are times where having a charity is still fine within disability, and the founder or the CEO of a charity would still earn a good salary anyway. So I think we sometimes get a bit, and because I think you and I have very similar views on it. Like I always sort of thought, well, if we have a charity, can I earn from it? But then you look at Scope and DR UK, and they're still paying out good salaries, aren't they? So maybe they're all just different tools and strategies, and it's a bit of a pick and mix depending on the idea.
I agree, and I think now, again, maybe I'm a director of 2 charities or trustees, so I've got no, I have no issue against charities.
Yeah, of course.
And it's just trying to find the right structure. Now, as you say, there is a way that Access Advisor could, become a foundation that sets up a charitable cause, which still allows it to raise money and eventually employ other disabled people, because that's what I'd like it to be able to do, is a business which employs disabled people in its marketing teams, in its software development teams and things like that. I mean, that's a pie in the sky vision, but that, and maybe a charitable arm, or maybe it sits under a charitable arm of something like an Access Advisor Foundation in the future.
Yeah. I mean, that was my other question before we move on to some other topics, was like the future. And obviously you've just mentioned that, regardless of the business structure, generally the point about employing disabled people is a really nice vision to have for it. What about in terms of the core service, the reviews and the sort of making information about accessibility more useful and helpful? I mean, have you gotten sort of short or medium or longer term views of where you want to take Access Advisor that way?
Well, I'd like to take it forward so that it does become almost a TripAdvisor for disabled people, so that as many people use it, we get as much valuable, constructive information and feedback as we can on places, and we actually use that to hopefully helpfully drive improvements towards other businesses. So if a business is going wrong and we're and people are saying, look, they haven't got this right, then we don't want to shame them. Our idea is that we work with those businesses to try and to get them to help to improve their facilities, because they'll make more money if they're open to more people.
And do you think that's a fundamental difference at the moment with TripAdvisor and Access Advisor, whereby TripAdvisor probably aren't harnessing the community to change the business, are they?
No, they're not. I think they like, their job is to get the reviews and get some advertising in. And so is ours, to be honest. But I just see it as a more fundamentally constructive way of improving the lives of disabled people. Why have all that information if you can't give it back to someone and get them to do something useful with it?
And I suppose on the business model side, it's easier to make money from a business where you're bringing them people to your restaurant or wherever it might be. Whereas if you're saying, we've got insights that if you act upon, then later you will make more business. I suppose that, the more forward-thinking businesses will embrace that, because they'll see that there's a lifetime value of customers that will be worth millions or billions, as we know. But yeah, I think for a lot of businesses, they'd rather the quick win of more bums on seats today than, putting a ramp in, which still doesn't cost a lot, but it just feels, and I'm more just, because I come up against so much resistance from businesses. And I think that's something that we've got to get better at, is selling to the business the point, take the insights that are there, make those changes, and then it will be better for business. But it's a lot, there's a lot more steps in that proposition, isn't there?
There is, and businesses, like you say, don't really want to hear that. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't keep trying at it.
No, definitely not. And it only takes one, restaurant, one bank. I mean, and again, like you said about progress, there are certain brands that have made improvements, and then maybe that's something for Access Advisor is to work with the brands that have already done a lot of good stuff, and just say, look, we know you've done a load of work. Let's let the community know about it.
Yeah, and we've had small wins like that, not big companies, but little, family-run businesses where we've pointed out things that could have been better, and they've got back to us and said, "Thank you for letting us know. We've made this change," and hopefully, and we've promoted that as well and said, "Look, this business has listened to what you've said."
Yeah, I mean that's interesting to me about local businesses because there's definitely a lot of business to be had for one local pub forgetting more Sunday lunches or whatever it might be. But obviously, when you look at the sort of scale of the map of the world and populating reviews, it's quite hard. So, like, how have you strategically gone about ensuring that certain places have got sufficient reviews?
Strategically, we haven't sort of that would be overselling myself, Martin, if I
and it was a bit of an unfair question because I would have done it. It almost sounds like, what was the strategy? Like we all make it up as we go along, right?
No, I wouldn't say it was that bad either. But hopefully I've tried to leverage sort of people that come from a certain area and say, look at Edinburgh. We've got someone who's done hundreds of reviews for us in Edinburgh. And so to say, well, look, Edinburgh's now leading the way. Look, on our map, the more reviews you get, it turns to a colour purple. So can you get your town to turn purple and so on and so forth?
Yeah. And how has the community been at responding and reacting to that sort of, being able to go out and get reviews?
I think before COVID, it was actually quite good. But it's gone really quiet at the moment, and so now it's chance to lift that up again. And so we're running a small competition in conjunction with another business called Access Rating.
Yeah.
So we're running a small cash competition for UK residents aged 18 and over. I'll say that now just to get the small print out of the way. So if you make an accessibility review before the end of June, you'll get your name, you'll get a ticket into a draw, and the winning prize will get this money. So
Brilliant.
it's just trying to get ways of getting people back into that habit again of making the reviews.
Yeah. Gavin's just said Edinburgh is the centre of the world for access reviews.
I wonder where Gavin comes from.
Yeah, I wonder. Cool. So before we move on, is there anything else about Access Advisor you'd want to share with people?
No, I just think it's. I still passionately believe in what we're doing. I think it's been a long, hard slog so far, but I do think there are people out there that can help make it work, and I'm just going to keep going, and hopefully we'll see some big success, some change in the near future, and we'll see it grow.
Yep. And as you already mentioned a couple of times, it's, all initiatives and businesses and everything is all a bit on pause and a bit struggling at the minute. So I think, it's sort of to help give it a kickstart as we get more out of COVID-19, whenever that may be, is, hopefully get back to that momentum that was happening as well.
Definitely.
Yeah. Cool. So as by popular demand, we've had a lot of people mentioning your art. It looks like you're doing a bit of that at the moment with your. Well, I know it's how you move your mouse, isn't it? But can you tell us a bit more about your art and how you got into that?
Okay, I started before I went to special school. I had home teaching at the age of about 4 or 5, and the lady who used to come to teach me taught me to write holding a pen in my mouth, and taught me to draw and helped me to learn. And she was also she also knew about the mouth and foot painting artists, and this was back in, back in the mid '60s. So she wrote off to them, and they sent me a painting set, and so my interest in art and painting took off from there, really. And I carried it on until I left school, but after I got a job, I didn't really do it again until 1998, when some of the cards from the mouth and foot painters popped through my door in my flat, and I thought, oh well, I might have a go at seeing if they'll, if I could join them. And so I sent them off some pictures, and they accepted me, and I've been painting for them ever since, and I love it, absolutely love it.
Yeah, I had a random, someone contacted on LinkedIn about a couple of potential collaborations, all that sort of stuff. But one of them is they have involvement with the mouth and foot painting. Is it association? Did you say?
Mouth and foot painting artists.
Artists. I knew as an A.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what the A stood for. Yeah, artists. And yeah, we spoke about you. It was literally last Thursday. Your name came up with them as well. So I know you've had a lot to do with that.
Was that Claudia?
Yes, it was Claudia. Yes. Yeah. The main contact was Katie from another agency, but then Katie worked with Claudia, and Claudia came on the call. And we're looking at Purple Goat maybe helping with some sort of marketing initiatives as well. It's all very like early days of just bouncing ideas around. That was why we were talking about it. But no, I mean, I guess the obvious question really is for you, what does it mean? What does it bring to your life, being able to do the art?
I think it's, I love it. It's a real distraction from everyday life. I get completely lost in what I'm doing. To me, it's no good if the art doesn't stand up as art itself, rather than just art by someone who's painting it with their mouth.
Yeah.
So I'd like it to be recognised as art, and not as art by a mouth painter. And
Yeah,
I'm sure all the other artists, the mouth and foot painting artists, have that same vision. When I'm down in my studio, I'm down there, for half a day or a day each time, and I've got Planet Rock in the background, and I just sit there, and and I'm well away. And although people say it doesn't matter what people think, because everyone's a critic, you do want to produce paintings that people like. I'm not into pigs in formaldehyde or anything like that. I'm trying to sort of please people with the pictures that I paint, and that's I think that's what I want to do, and so they become cards, so more people can see them.
Yeah. And so, what sort of pictures are you generally painting? What's your preferred?
I'm a landscape person, I think, definitely. I prefer landscapes. You do portraits, and people say that doesn't look like that person. You do a tree, and no one ever says, "Well, that doesn't really look like that tree." You've got a bit of latitude with landscapes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Portraits are a bit more punishing in terms of people's opinions.
And how do you? I mean, I imagine you've got like, as you say, sort of general art practice. You sort of got the canvas, you've got the paintbrushes, and you're just using your mouth to do it rather than your hand. What about like mixing the paints? Is that quite trickier?
Well, someone squeezes the paints out onto a palette for me, and so I can mix them. And I also have an easel which was made by Remap. I don't know if you've heard of Remap.
I know the name. I can't think why I know the name.
I don't know it officially stands for this, but I was told it stands for Retired Engineers Make Anything Possible.
Right.
And which is good enough as any. And they came along and designed me an easel which will move up and down and tilt backwards and forwards, because previously, if I had a larger canvas, I would have to get someone to turn it upside down and do the painting on the sky or the top half of the picture.
Right.
And so they came along and designed me this, and they did it for free. I made a small donation, and they got an award for the easel that they did. But it's just made my life so much easier. So yeah, with paints and that, and they've set up somewhere where my paint brushes are at the right height, and the white spirit or the terps that I use to clean the brushes are at the right height. So I'm independent for hours at a time when I'm painting.
Yeah, that's really interesting to hear how that all works. Gavin's just asked an interesting question. Do you put on exhibitions where you don't mention your method, or is it tempting to add your background each time?
That's a good question. I've done exhibitions. I had some pictures at a local exhibition last year, and they were just there, and they stood. They stood out. They weren't. I didn't mention my painting with my mouth, so I'm not tempted to really. If people think it's painted by mouth, then they might see it differently. So I want to know what people think of it without before.
Yeah, it's
Don't
interesting.
say it's rubbish, and then you go, "Oh, but I painted with my mouth," and they
Yeah.
"Oh, it's brilliant." Then I think, I know they're not telling the truth.
Now, there's definitely a narrative around the identity of disability in all walks of life, because it doesn't define us, and like you say, your art is your art, and you want it to stand up as art. But then, there are parts of life, and indeed painting, that are harder and not as easy as without a disability, and that's part of the narrative or part of your identity. But I think I can see why it's more about the art than the method for you. That makes total sense.
There are parts of the art that are more difficult, but to me, for me personally, it's not the painting part. I think I can paint for as long as I want without getting tired. I've been doing it since I was 4 or 5, writing with my mouth. The only thing that's become more difficult is that the gap in my teeth is now getting bigger, where I've been holding sticks in my mouth and
I was
brushes
going
in
to
my
ask,
mouth.
did it ever hurt your mouth? Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, but it's wearing my teeth down. So at some point, I'll need new dentures or something. But I don't think I don't think of it as hard. Sometimes I can't get the paints out myself, but once I'm away, then it's just like I see it as I do see it as being able to do it as much as anybody else can.
No, that's amazing. And where can people see your art? Have you got any online?
I've got an Instagram account now, which I can't use because I don't know anything about Instagram. My daughter does it for me. It's Rob T MFPA.
So Rob, T's for Trent,
T. Yeah.
and then
MFPA
MFPA
is
is
mouth
mouth
foot
and
painting
foot painting
artist.
artist.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's also a link on there where you can go and buy the cards if cards and calendars, because it's a self-help group of disabled people that sell their cards and calendars.
Brilliant. Is that somewhere else? Did you say, not on your Instagram?
There's a link on the Instagram page if you want to look at other artists. There are far better artists than myself on there as well, so don't go look at them too much.
Brilliant. And so the other thing I just wanted to touch on before we start to wind down was your other love and passion is football, right?
Yep, definitely. I've been a Bournemouth fan since 1971. You talked earlier about what was life like in terms of accessibility. Well, back then there were no disabled facilities at grounds. There were no disabled toilets. I was small enough for my dad to carry me into grounds when I was young and sit on the wooden benches for a few years.
Yeah.
But then when he couldn't do that and I was in a wheelchair, sometimes you go to a ground and there was no facilities. There would be no facilities. I once got into a ground by being a passenger in one of those 3-wheeler cars. You remember the blue?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you wouldn't.
I don't remember.
Probably.
I've read about
the 3-wheeler Inva cars, they were called.
Yeah.
And it was illegal to be a passenger, but somehow, obviously, I didn't break the law, but I managed to get into a ground, and watch a game from one of those cars. So it was very interesting. But now, it's my passion. I go and watch Bournemouth home and away. I do videos, accessibility videos on the Access Advisor YouTube channel. If anyone wants to go and subscribe to that, we've got a pathetically small amount of subscribers. So anyone who isn't subscribed and is watching this, please go along and help us boost our subscriber count. That would be really good.
And that's Access Advisor, is it? The Access Advisor account?
Yes, it is.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, and I was going to ask you about, is Bournemouth where you actually live then? Is that why you're a Bournemouth fan?
I was born in Weymouth in Dorset. I live in Southampton now because I moved up here for college and then for work. But my family all live in Dorchester. My dad took me to Bournemouth when I was 12, so 71 when I was 12. And once you know what it's like. Once you're hooked. That was it. I was gone.
Yeah.
So I blame him. I blame him for years of hurt and misery.
Well, often everyone's story is sort of being influenced and persuaded who to support by others. Like my dad is a Chelsea fan, but when I was choosing my team in sort of 88, around 1988, I was 5. Chelsea were not doing very well, and he didn't want to sort of, submit me to that kind of punishment. And then a few of my mates around were big Tottenham fans, so I was influenced into being a Tottenham fan. And I still went and watched Chelsea quite a lot with my dad as a kid, because it's a lovely sort of bonding thing to do with father and son. And so I saw Chelsea win pretty much every cup that was available, but as a Tottenham fan, it didn't really mean anything.
That must have been harsh.
It was. I mean, you don't hear many Tottenham fans that have any positive views of Chelsea. There's quite a rivalry and a hatred, but I have to say, because of those experiences, I wouldn't say I have soft spot, but definitely cherish those memories. Watching those matches with my dad. Anyway, yeah. Cool. Well, we're sort of winding down here. Rob, was there anything else you wanted to mention while we're on?
No, I'm just really delighted to have come on, and I hope people have found it interesting. Please look at our Facebook, Access Advisor, YouTube, LinkedIn, wherever. Give us a follow if you can, and hopefully we can work together in some way, and we keep making things better and more inclusive for disabled people.
Yeah, totally agree. And Gavin saying thanks loads, Rob and Martin. Love this stuff, and love that I get the chance to see people I know so well on social media being interviewed under one roof. Every day is a great day with the Daily Sib. So thank you for those kind words, Gavin.
Thank you, Gavin.
And Sarah saying morning. Sarah's going to be on
Good morning.
Later in June as well. So it's good, great little daily chat and a community forming around it. As I keep saying, I think you've mentioned it as well, Rob, that you sort of get to know what else is going on, but it helps piece things together quite well as well.
Yeah, it does. What you mean, talking on here and seeing different people?
Yeah, like the different perspectives from the community. Yeah,
I think it is. I think it's a great way of trying to find out who's doing what, where they're doing it, you know, what crossovers there might be, and how we can all work together. We're sometimes we're in competition, but we want to work together. I think we're all working for the same aim.
There's a very much a social mission at play as well, isn't there?
There is, and I even managed to get at the end of the day in there, just like a football interview.
I tried not to. The lads have done well.
They have.
Cool.
Brilliant. Thank you for inviting me on.
No, pleasure. Thank you for coming on. And even we've had lots of chats over the years about general stuff and about Access Advisor, but I got to learn a bit more today for myself, so that was really nice. So thanks for coming on. And obviously everyone, please do check out Access Advisor's social channels and YouTube and get subscribing and all the rest of it. And obviously do try and leave a review if you've been somewhere in the past and you just never got round to doing the review. It's a great opportunity with all the downtime to do that. So great stuff. Well, everyone, thanks for watching. See you. Also, you have to mention I'm not doing a show tomorrow because I'm judging an awards for Visit England, and it's sort of 11 or 10 till 2 or something. So there'll be no Daily Sib tomorrow, unfortunately, but I'll be back Wednesday anyway. So just to mention that. But good stuff. Well, have a great day, Rob. Are you painting today?
Thank you. I may go and paint. It's still nice, so I'll go and do some nice painting this afternoon, hopefully.
Sounds good. All right. Well, take everyone, and I'll see you on Wednesday.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.